Story of a Child Slave by Anne Capecchi. Slavery is the practice of owning other people and forcing them to work for no money. 27 million people around the world today are enslaved. Many are children. They work long hours at jobs that are difficult, dirty, and sometimes deadly. It was 3:00 a.m., time for James Kofi Annan to get up. James, just 6 years old, worked on a fishing boat. His workday began every morning at 3:00 and did not finish until 8:00 at night. In between, he might be fed one meal. He might go hungry all day. He might get yelled at, beaten, or thrown into the lake. James was not paid for his labor. He was a child slave. James was born in Ghana, a country in West Africa, in 1975. His parents named him after an important local man. James was the youngest of 12 children. His parents hadn't gone to school, and he couldn't read or write. Like many local people, they struggled to support their family. When James was 6, 3 men visited his village several times. They wore expensive-looking clothes and shoes. Each time they left the village, they took local children with them. People said the men were helping the children. They said the men gave the children food and clothing and provided them with an education. One day the men took James with them. James soon learned that the rumors about the men were false. These men weren't going to send James to school. They were fishermen, and James's father had sold James to them. James was now a child slave. James worked on Ghana's Lake Volta for 7 years. He helped the men fish. The work was difficult and dangerous. James became sick many times, yet he was never taken to a doctor. If a fishing net got stuck underwater, a boy had to dive to free it. The water was dirty and deep. A few boys panicked and drowned. James was desperate to escape. He tried several times, but was always caught and beaten. When James was 13, he received sad news from home. The important man he was named after had died. The fishermen let James return to his village for the funeral. James never returned to work. He had finally escaped slavery. His father feared the fishermen would come after him for the money they had paid. Still, James refused to return to slavery. He was a teenager now. He had no money, no job, no clothes. He was illiterate. But James had his freedom, and he planned to use it wisely. First, he would attend school to get an education. Then he would get a job. Once he had obtained an education, money, and experience, he would use those resources to help other children.